at the end of the day, it's a big supply issue, like anything. If you think about, when I was a kid and you were into like a certain video game and it came out and it was a limited release, and then all of a sudden it was like, well, they're all gone. And if you want one, it's like
you have to pay a higher
bidder.
price.
And so that's just like anything else. That's what's happening with housing.
Howdy, you're watching the Think Brazos podcast. We host conversations with locals, politicians, and policy experts to help families thrive in Brazos County, Texas. So when you're thinking about how to make your community better, just remember, think local, think Brazos.
So this is the Think Brazos podcast, and we're joined today by College Station staff member David Brower, who is the Community Development Administrator for the City of College Station. Thank you so much, David, for coming on the podcast.
Well, Charlie, thanks for having me. Thanks for all you and Habitat do and that Think Brazos does to get important information out.
Absolutely. So let's talk today about the Housing Action Plan. We've spoken, I believe, last fall, or I can't remember when it was, but we have spoken about it before. But now that you have your basically implementation committee, we want to talk about that today, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Can you introduce yourself a little bit more and your background with the city?
Sure. So I've been with the city for 17 years.
Okay.
Started in the Community Development Division. We're part of the Planning and Development Services Department. And so we administer the Community Development Block Grant and Home Investment Partnership Grant that the city receives. We also coordinate other grants and efforts that the city does around housing, social services. We do public facilities with our grants, all to benefit low and moderate income persons.
Okay.
And so been doing that. Just quick background. So housing, I started with the city in 2008.
Okay.
And if you look at kind of what housing prices have done, I administer the city's down payment assistance program, and we've had to change it every couple of years because housing prices have done, there's been little dips and like any market driven thing, but they've gone up and not in pace with people's incomes.
Exactly.
And so housing has always been something that we focus on. It's always been an issue where housing affordability in our community, specifically during the pandemic and then immediately afterwards, nationally and here too, housing has become more and more of an issue. People talk about a nationwide housing crisis. We feel it here. We're a unique community and that we're twin cities and we're a college town.
Yeah.
But all that to say is we were tasked with coming up with a plan for how the city wants to address, in the ways that we can address the housing issue.
Yeah. And if we could talk about actually the existing conditions report, which I believe is within the housing action plan, but what are 3 or 4 things that stick out to you as far as the city of College Station in terms of housing today?
One of the biggest ones is just the percentage of renters and homeowners with mortgages that are cost burdened.
Okay.
And so that's spending more than 30% of their monthly income on housing expenses.
Okay.
There's all kinds of
Would that be like, would students be included in that, or is it everyone, or
they are?
Okay.
They are. And so when you look at our number for those with rent, that's going to be inflated with students.
Sure.
When you look at the folks with households with mortgages that are cost burdened, you can kind of assume that that's not students. And that's the indicator that since we've done the existing conditions report, you mentioned we have our committee. One of the things we did for them is we went back through and updated all the data since the new community survey data came out. We got with the folks, and they're super nice and helpful at the multiple listing service. They gave us all the updated data from a year ago when we did the existing conditions report. And the one thing, so the number of renters that are cost burdened has stayed the same, but the number of homeowners that are homeowners with mortgages, that number has increased. So you can kind of see like, and that means that there are more people in our community that in order to pay their total monthly housing costs, owners that pay their total monthly housing costs, that number has gone up. The number of those people that spend more than 30% of their income doing that.
Got it.
And there's a lot of good literature out there on why that's bad to have people that spend more than 30% of their income. If you think of all the other things a household has to buy.
Oh, yeah.
Having housing costs be 30, 40, 50 more percent of your monthly, it means that there's less money to do things like save for your kids.
Exactly.
College or
put your kids in baseball or things like that.
Buy the food you need, that kind of stuff. So that's a big one.
Yeah.
The other indicator has just been the cost of, like, if you look at what it has cost to buy a single family home, and we track it in the report, single family homes, townhomes, we track it, new construction, non-new construction. But the trend has just been kind of, we talked about post-pandemic, very rapid acceleration, 20% increase in prices over years to where, and if you look at that alongside increase in wages, it didn't keep up. And that so the trend there has been those have sort of leveled off, but they're not decreasing. Our hope was that then incomes would continue to climb to help meet those. But when we look at incomes in our area, those have sort of leveled off too.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's the second indicator that really stands out to us.
College Station and Bryan, really all of Texas, they're in this, what we would probably say is a housing affordability crisis. You've got this housing action plan that the city council voted to approve. I believe it was last year.
That's right.
Now you have effectively an implementation committee, if I understand it right, that is tasked with implementing these strategies and achieving these goals. Can we go into a little bit of how's it going with the committee, and I guess a little bit more about the strategies and the goals that you're looking to achieve?
Sure. So I'll start with the strategies and goals.
Yeah.
There's two overarching goals of the plan. The first one is to create more housing and more diverse housing types. And so there's different actions and strategies under that, but they all boil down to where can we increase density?
Okay.
Where does it make sense to look at both through our current zoning? Where does zoning need to change? And through the Unified Development Ordinance, the UDO, what can be changed in that to allow for more density? So smaller lot sizes, decreased setbacks. And then, the city's been working on things like this through like middle housing or but accelerating that. So where one of the other indicators that we see in the existing conditions report is we have lots of single family homes.
Yes.
We have lots of multifamily homes, but those in betweens, the duplexes, the fourplexes, different options for people to rent or own.
Yeah.
We don't have as many of those. They're very small in comparison.
Okay.
So how can we, and that's what a city government really is uniquely positioned to affect, is we're the ones that set those rules.
Right.
That zoning, that the rules for development.
Like what can go where.
The UDO. Right. And so taking a good look at where does it make sense to increase density, because at the end of the day, it's a big supply issue.
Yeah.
Like anything, if you think about, when I was a kid and you were into like a certain video game and it came out and it was a limited release, and then all of a sudden it was like, well, they're all gone, and if you want one, like
you have to pay a higher price.
And so that's just like anything else. That's what's happening with housing. In addition to just the cost to build, the cost to run, those are all increasing too. So costs are going up. So one of the ways that you can relieve that is by providing more. So to alleviate the price pressure, or different types. So if you want to be a homeowner, if you can give the option for people to buy into a townhome development, or have a duplex where they can buy the whole duplex, live in one side, rent out the other, the income could maybe help with the affordability of the mortgage.
Right.
Those sorts of things. So that's the first goal.
The first supply,
but looking at supply, looking at how and it's pretty complicated. So increasing density means you have to, the other thing the city does is provide services.
Yeah.
And so providing the infrastructure, And so one of the keys to knowing where density can be increased is knowing where will infrastructure support it.
Basically, what's the most affordable way to get those services to those future people?
Right. And it's a lot more affordable if there's existing capacity.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. And so that would obviously be where we'd want to look to say, oh, yes, let's look there. Because otherwise it gets expensive. We got to put the capacity there infrastructure-wise. Yeah. And so some of that will involve looking at those things. Like, so doing an existing look at what do we have? What could we have? What will our current infrastructure system support?
Right.
What would need to be changed in order to increase it? And so that those conversations will happen. It'll be a public process to help for the public to help decide where do we want more density? Where do we not? The plan's pretty specific that neighborhood conservation areas, we wouldn't look to increase density. Those neighborhoods that are like the name suggests, we're trying to conserve these.
Yeah, is that because they're built out, or is that because the neighborhoods themselves want to conserve it?
Yeah, the neighborhood and the city has, as the zoning type indicates, or that special overlay of a neighborhood conservation district, that's a neighborhood that we want to conserve as it is. But there's lots of the rest of the cities available to look at and say, well, here's where we can do these types of increased density.
Yeah.
And go from there. So that's the first goal. The second goal is to create opportunities for people to rent or own, to create housing opportunities for people at various incomes. So it's through programs, through initiatives that will help people who normally would be priced out to be able to afford rental or ownership opportunities.
And how would that play out? Is that something that the committee will decide at a later date, or do you have within this plan already some things in mind for how you increase that affordability?
Yeah, let me give you a few examples. There are. So underneath, there are, it's broken down underneath that goal with strategies. And so we've got strategies to address homeownership, strategies to address rental opportunities, strategies to look at creative ways to finance, to work with developers to finance types of housing that are income restricted.
Yeah.
So one thing we're really excited about, and I can give you an example, is we're currently working with the United Way of the Brazos Valley to create a homeownership program.
Got it.
And so that's underneath the rental strategy to create rental opportunities. And so the kind of the long and the short of the program is find homeowners that have excess space in their home, would be willing to rent a room, who maybe need could benefit from the extra income that would generate. Work with them, make it to where they're ready to be a landlord, then find someone who needs that more affordable rental opportunity, match them and support them, and then create the extra unit through that.
And this has been done before in other Texas cities. Is that correct?
That's right. And so there's a great program in Dallas that's been successful and has existed for decades. I want to say close to over 20 years. That United Way's been in close contact with, trying to get this program to work. And so that's, one of the strategies that we've moved forward with quickly, that we're looking to fund this next year out of some of our grant funds. And then United Way's looking for other funding sources as well. So that's one. Another thing in here with homeownership would be to create a deed-restricted homeownership program. Deed-restricted homeownership. So our current down payment assistance program is we provide, it's a loan, a 0% interest deferred loan of up to $50,000. We help an income qualified household purchase a home. So our $50,000, what it allows the family to do is borrow less from the lender.
Right. So the payment is less.
Affordable.
Yeah.
Help them access our market. It's kind of like a step stool up to being able to access the market, purchase a home in College Station. We haven't done one of those for over 2 years because of the market. So short term, we're looking to increase the amount because the money does come back. So when they no longer live in the home, they sell the home through that sale, or the money comes back to the city. And then and it's shared equity. So it comes back along with a portion of the profit they've realized, the net proceeds from the sale.
Right.
And then we could put it back out and help another family. Deed restricted home ownership, that would help a family buy a home, put deed restrictions on the home to where they then need to sell the home to another income qualified family.
Okay.
And so what it does is it just helps ensure that that home is then affordable moving out. They realize appreciation, but it's on a set schedule.
Yeah.
And so that that's another thing we've been looking into, benchmarking. The last thing I'll talk about, and it kind of spans both, is density bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
So there's different cities in Texas that have done this. It's pretty widely done throughout the country. But you have a base zoning, and let's say your base zoning in an area is we're going to allow you to go up to 3 stories high with the buildings you build. Yeah. And your setbacks need to be at least 10 feet.
Right.
So then the density bonus says, okay, we will allow you to build higher.
Okay.
So
like more stories.
More stories will allow you to build denser, less setbacks. But for every story you build higher, you either have so many of the units in that development be affordable.
Like affordable rentals.
Affordable rentals. So you have to rent them to people at or below a certain income.
Oh, neat.
At or below these tied to a market. At or below these more reduced rents.
Yeah.
Or you pay money into a fund that then we could use for these other programs, workforce housing type programs elsewhere in the city.
Okay.
And so basically you'd be leveraging this new development. You'd be achieving the density you want to achieve. A lot of times with that density, though, new construction is a lot of times not very affordable.
Yeah.
So it'd be another way to ensure that new development is also helping to create some affordability so that folks that work here can have a shot at.
That's really cool.
Living here too.
And so when we're talking about strategies in this plan, one of the things I wanted to bring up today is I did notice, I believe I did not see anything in there about lot splits. And so that would be where you've got a parcel of land that, let's say, an elderly lady has lived on for a long time, has a large yard. Some other cities are beginning to open up this concept, and that would be where you're able to sell off a portion of that property to be able to then be repurposed. Developer, builder, nonprofit builder, could come in and build a home for another family. Is that something that you think this committee could look at, or is that something y'all discussed when you were getting into discussing this plan? Because I didn't see it in there.
No, it's a great idea. And that's something we've seen since the plan was created.
Yeah.
And where we tucked that under was looking at our current development ordinance. And that would be a way to allow greater density through what we allow if we don't currently.
So that's not something that y'all would rule out necessarily, depending on what the committee wants.
And I think it's a great idea. Yeah. I mean, to me, that's one of the, similar to the home share program, what do we already have?
Exactly.
And as our city grows, a lot of the opportunity will be, we'll need to start looking at where we can do more infill type development.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I know we're running a little bit short on time here, but this is a long plan. This is not something that is going to be realized, or the fruits of it aren't going to be realized in 1, 2, even 5 years. I believe it's referenced in there 7 to 10 years, maybe even more. Let's pretend we're a decade from now. What could you, as one member of staff, point to as an indicator that this plan is working? So 5 to 10 years from now.
One thing I'll go back to, you asked about the committee and how that's going. It's going really well. We had our first meeting. And so one thing I'd look back is 10 years from now, look back. And one thing we would like to see is that the decisions and the path forward to move this plan from here, paper concept to reality was very heavily impacted and very heavily influenced by these members of the committee, so that we could say this is truly a citizen. Creation was citizen-led, but then the implementation is as well.
Exactly.
And so really we want to make sure that their focus, their input and direction, that one awesome thing about the committee is we had really amazing folks with great backgrounds conducive to this kind of work step up, apply, and then be appointed. And so we're really excited about them using their expertise, volunteering their time. Aaron Ship with Habitat.
Yeah.
He's a development professional that has those skills and can use those in addition to having the affordable housing. We've got folks with a lot of academic background on there who have also been practitioners and a unique perspective. And
that's fantastic.
Really amazing list of people. And so we want their advice, their guidance. So that's one thing. But then the other thing would be to be able to look back and see tangible in both goals. To see that because of the efforts of the plan and then the plan being implemented, that there are now these options, these options for people to live, to have a place to rent, to live, to buy into the dream of homeownership and to advance that you could see like these developments were created because of these things that were changed that then allowed them to be. Which is neat. That's the city's unique. Like we get to call balls and strikes when it comes to development, and which is good. And it's an awesome responsibility, but it's very encouraging that, and a good way to address the problem head on is to make those changes to have more housing, various housing types. And then hopefully we'll be able to look at those and see not only is there more and prices stabilized, went down because of the supply we were able to bring, but then also and now there's these affordable options too, that the people that work in our community that are our, when we've looked at who is it that is at or below 80% of the area median income, it's our teachers till after they've been at the school district for a lot of years. It's people that, mechanics that keep our cars going. It's
work at the university.
It's a lot of folks that hopefully will be able to say like they got to now have an opportunity to live in the community that they serve because of things that got implemented in the plan.
Yeah. Okay. So I know this is a huge discussion. We have it sitting here. It's 170 pages. So a lot more than we can get into today, but have we missed anything huge that you want to discuss in the last couple of minutes here?
I think the last thing I'll talk about is just our, what a difference and what good partners the city will, going forward, it will be a collaborative effort. And so
tackling the affordable house,
tackling it, working with other entities. We had great discussions with College Station ISD, with folks at the university, with our sister city of Bryan. Working together to be able to advance these, but then also good nonprofit partners. So Habitat for Humanity, Elder Aid, BVCAP, bringing others on board. One of our goals is to work with employers. So as this becomes more of an HR issue, we will be able to attract and keep employees better if we have places for them to live. One of our goals is to work with employers to develop workplace initiatives around housing. And so
that'll be huge.
So that's the only other thing I'll say is that one of the key to the success of this plan will be those collaborations and those partnerships.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, David, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast today to talk about the housing action plan for the city of College Station. Hope we get to catch up again soon. And thank you so much.
To Charlie, thanks for all you do. Appreciate it.